Hi boys and girls, today is Wednesday and we're going to be working on lesson 12. But before we get to lesson 12, if you have a pencil or anything that you have near you to mark the page, go ahead and put it there. And we're going to go review our vocabulary sentence. So you have to go to the back where we went last time, to the back of your textbook, and it's going to be on page right here, on page 352. I'll give you a couple of seconds so that you can get to page 352. Make sure that if you need more time, you go ahead and pause the video. Okay, well, let's start. Ready? Touch sentence 2. Make sure your finger is on sentence 2. It's very important because these sentences come out in our workbook, in our test. Ready? Okay, this is a new vocabulary sentence. It says, scientists do not ignore ordinary things. So everybody read the sentence. Get ready. Awesome. So close your eyes and now say the sentence. Get ready. Very good. So scientists are highly trained people who study different things about the world. Some scientists study water, some study the sun. Everybody, what do we call highly trained people who study different things about the world? Get ready. Yes, scientists. Who wants to be a scientist when they grow up? I bet that would be such a fun job. Okay? Now, when you don't pay attention to something, you ignore that thing. Everybody, what's another way of saying she did not pay attention to the noisy children? Get ready. Yes, you should have said she ignored the noisy children. So, what's another way of saying he did not pay attention to the teacher's directions? Get ready. Yeah, he ignored the teacher's directions. Very good. Things that you see all the time in different places are ordinary things. So, everybody, what do you call trees that you see all the time? Get ready. Yes, ordinary trees. What do you call houses you see all the time? Get ready. Yes, ordinary houses. Listen to the sentence again. Ready? I'm going to read it. Scientists do not ignore ordinary things. So, everybody, what word means that you don't pay attention to something? Get ready. Yes, ignore means you don't pay attention to something. Now, everybody, what word means what do we call highly trained people who study different things about the world? Get ready. Yes, scientist. So, what word tells about things that you see all the time? Get ready. Yes, ordinary. Awesome job. Okay, now I'm going to give you a couple of seconds, or if you need more time, pause the video. Now we're going to start with lesson 12. Make sure that you're on page 53. Page 53. And we're going to go ahead and start. Ready? So, we're on lesson 12, page 53. Let me remove my pencil. Fingers on column 1, vocabulary word 1. Ready? The words in line 1 are polar bear. What words? Get ready. Yes, polar bear. The words in line 2 are ice floe. What words? Get ready. Awesome. Ice floe. An ice floe, if you were wondering, is a flat sheet of ice that floats in the ocean. It is like flat iceberg. Word 3 is Omo. What word? Yes. Spell Omo. Get ready. Awesome. Now word 4 is Olak. Get ready. Yes. Spell Olak. Get ready. Beautiful. Omo and Olak are characters in a story you will read. Word 5 is shoulder. What word? Get ready. Yes, shoulder. Spell shoulder. Get ready. Awesome. So now let's go ahead and go to column 2. Are you ready? I'm going to flip the page. And we are going to start. Ready? So these words have more than one syllable. The first part of each word is underlined. So point to word 1. And word 1, what's the underlined part? Get ready. Yes, pebble. Now what's the whole word? Get ready. Yes, pebbled. Things that are pebbled are covered with small stones. A road that is covered with small stones is called a pebbled road. Everybody, what do we call a beach that is covered with small stones? Get ready. Yes, a pebbled beach. Awesome. Word 2, what's the underlined part? Get ready. Yes, splat. What's the whole word? Get ready. Yes, splatter. Word 3, what's the underlined part? Get ready. Yes, Alaska. Sorry, it was Alaska. You were right. And now what's the whole word? Get ready. Yes, Alaskan. Word 4, what's the underlined part? Get ready. Yes, scatter. Now what's the whole word? Get ready. Yes, scattered. Awesome. Now we're going to read the whole words in column 2 the fast way. Are you ready? Okay. Word 1, get ready. Word 2, get ready. Word 3, get ready. Word 4, get ready. Awesome. So now we're going to go to column 3. Make sure your fingers on word 1. And number 1, what words? Get ready. Yes, killer whale. Word 2, what word? Get ready. Yes, Eskimo. Word 3, what word? Get ready. Yes, spear. Word 4, what word? Get ready. Yes, January. Awesome job reading the words in column 3. Let's move on to column 4. Fingers on word 1. Word 1, what word? Yes, walrus. Word 2, what word? Yes, kayak. Word 3, what word? Yes, sun. Word 4, what word? Yes, restless. Awesome job reading the words. And we learned a lot of new words, right? A lot of new words that I'm sure we hadn't experienced in our second grade program, right? So this is awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and go to section B, and we're going to read the information passage about Eskimos. So everybody, touch the title. Ms. Gomez is going to read it and ask you some questions. So you need to follow along, listen, and make sure that you're ready to answer the questions. Okay? You ready? Okay, so I'm going to read facts about Eskimos. In the next lesson, you will read about Eskimos. The winters are very cold where Eskimos live. So everybody, if the winters are very cold, do Eskimos live close to the North Pole or close to the equator? Get ready. Yes, they live close to the North Pole, remember, because the North Pole is very cold. I'm going to continue reading. Let me just take this off. Okay. Eskimos live near the North Pole in Canada and Alaska. So, where do they live? Get ready. Yeah, near the North Pole in Canada or Alaska, right? Now let's continue reading. Alaska is a state of the United States, but it is far north of the main part of the United States. Touch Alaska on the map. Everybody do it. So go ahead and find the map here. Let me move this back here and touch Alaska on the map. And as you can see, does Alaska touch the other states of the United States? Get ready. No, right? It does not, because the United States is here and Alaska is way over here. In what direction do you have to go from the main part of the United States to reach Alaska? What direction do you have to go? Get ready. Well, if you said north and west, you are right, because you go north, which is up, and then you have to go to the side because it's not straight up, so towards the west. So northwest, you combine them too. So everybody touch the letter C on the map. Go ahead and find the letter C and touch it. Okay, is that letter in Alaska? Get ready. No, right? It is not. What country is that letter in? Get ready. Yes, Canada. Remember, Eskimos live in that part of Canada and they live in Alaska. So they live in this part of Canada and also in Alaska. Okay, let's continue reading to find out. Let's turn the page to this part right here. Let me make sure my book is straight so that you all can see. Okay, picture 2 shows an Eskimo with some of the things that Eskimos use. The Eskimo is holding a fishing pole in one hand. The Eskimo is holding a fishing spear in the other hand. So if you look at the picture, touch the fishing pole. Very good, you should be touching this. Touch the spear. Very good, you should be touching this right here. Awesome. So we know, right, what they look like. Let's continue reading. The Eskimo is holding, oh, I already read that. The Eskimo is wearing warm clothes that are made from animal skins. So, why do Eskimos need warm clothes? Get ready. Yeah, because it's cold where they live. Imagine if they didn't have warm clothes, it would be very, very cold. So his coat is very warm. Look at what he's wearing on his feet. The footwear is also very warm, you can tell. So from top to bottom, they got to dress in warm clothes. Okay, let's continue reading. So, right here, near the Eskimo is a sled. Everybody touch the sled in the picture. Should be touching the sled. In what season do they use these sleds? Get ready. Yes, winter. They carry things on the sled and sometimes they ride on the sled too. Like on Frozen. If everybody's seen the movie Frozen, he rides a sled, right? Okay, let's continue reading. The dogs that pull the sleds are called sled dogs. So everybody touch the sled dog. These right here, because they pull the sled. They're strong dogs because they have to pull. Imagine pulling a sled with things on it or a person on it. Have to be very strong. Let's continue. The boat that Eskimos use in the summer is called a kayak. Make sure you can read these words. Eskimo, kayak, Alaska, spear. It's going to be very important words for our next story that we're going to read. And if you look at the picture, point to the kayak. Why don't you use kayaks in the winter? Get ready. Yeah, because the water is frozen, right? And it's like a boat. So could you be using a kayak? No, because the water is turned into ice at that time. So kayaks for the summer, spring, and then sleds are only for the winter. Okay, let's continue reading. Now we go to part C in our textbook. And for this part, you have to read on your own the story. So at this time, you pause the video. And whenever you read the story on your own, you go ahead and press play so that I can read it to you and ask you some questions so we can review. Remember, this error limit for the story is 13 errors. So while you're reading on your own and you're counting your errors, make sure that you don't make more than 13. Okay, at this point you should have read it on your own And now I'm going to read it to you and ask you some questions. Are you ready? Okay. So, section C, we're gonna start. And the story is called Back to Canada. Ooh, this is the last story of Henry and Tim, so let's enjoy it. Ready? There were hundreds of geese on Crooked Lake and in the fields around it. Henry and Tim circled the lake twice before Henry spotted their flock. Then he pointed his wing toward the south shore and said, "There's our flock right there." Everybody, on which shore was their flock? Get ready. Yes, the south shore. The two geese flew very low over the flock and honked loudly. As they made a sharp turn and headed back, Henry could hear some of the geese in the flock saying things like, "Who are those geese? And doesn't that one goose look a lot like Henry?" Everybody, did the geese in the flock think that it really was Henry? Get ready. No, right? Couldn't believe it just yet. Why not? Get ready. Yeah, because everybody thought that Henry was still in Canada. Let me continue reading. Tim and Henry landed right in the middle of the flock. Oh, how the geese honked and flapped their wings. Tim's mom flapped her wings so hard she sent little feathers flying all over the place. His dad rushed over and gave Tim a big old goose kiss. "My son," he said, "I didn't think we'd ever see you again." Tim had tears in his eyes. As Tim ran off with his mom and dad, Henry's friends formed a big circle around him and honked so loudly that you could hear them for miles. A few minutes later, some of his children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren came from their flocks to give Henry big old goose kisses. So, who did Tim go off with after he and Henry landed? Get ready. Yeah, his mom and his dad. He was so happy to see them. So everybody, were his mom and his dad surprised to see him? Get ready. Yes, they were. They didn't expect it. Who were the first geese to give Henry a big welcome? Get ready. Yes, his friends, right? It says that his children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren came from their flocks to welcome Henry. These geese were not in Henry's flock. You'll read more about that later on in the story. Let's continue reading. Down here, make sure you're following. One of Henry's grandchildren said, "We didn't think you were coming, but we knew we would see you next summer when we went north again." "Yes," a great grandchild said, "but now you'll be able to fly back to Canada with us next spring." Henry started to say, "Oh, I don't know." But then he smiled and said, "Sure, we'll all go back to Canada in the spring." Henry started to say, "Oh, I don't know." Why did he start to say that? Get ready. Yeah, because he didn't know if he would be able to make the trip, right? So, but then what did he say? Get ready. Yeah, that they'd all go back to Canada in the spring, right? I hope they do. Let's continue reading. And that's what happened. Henry spent the winter in the warm Florida sun, napping, eating, swimming, and visiting with his friends and family. About 2 times every week, he would go flying with some of the geese who were less than a year old. He would always make sure that Tim went with them. Henry would give the young geese practice at flying in a V. Henry would honk out orders as the V would swoop over Crooked Lake, very low and very fast. Once in a while, Henry would have a sore wing after flying with the young geese, but his wing wasn't too bad. So, name some of the things that Henry did during that winter. Get ready? Yeah, right? He would nap, eat, swim, visited with his friends, flying with the young geese, so many things, right? And how old were the geese that he flew with? Get ready? Yes, less than a year old. What would those geese practice doing? Get ready? Yes, flying in a V, right? Just like Henry and Tim had flown. Let's continue reading. Henry wasn't really worried about his wing because the trip back north was a lot easier than the trip down to Florida. The trip north started in January, but the geese wouldn't reach Big Trout Lake in Canada until the middle of April. Imagine that. So, everybody, when did the geese start going north again? Get ready. Yes, in January. And when would the flock reach Big Trout Lake? Get ready. Yes, until April. So raise your hand when you know how many months it is from January to April. Now give me your answer. Get ready. Yes, 3 months to get back to Canada. Imagine that. Okay, let's continue reading. At the beginning of January, Tim and Henry and all the geese began, let's flip the page, right here, feeling restless. They wanted to fly north. 2 days later, the first flocks took off. Over the next few days, Henry watched hundreds and hundreds of flocks take off. Finally, Henry's flock was ready. It flew into the sky and joined other flocks that were leaving Crooked Lake, Reedy Lake, and the other nearby lakes. The geese flew in four great V's. The sky was filled with geese. So, everybody, how did the geese start feeling at the beginning of January? Get ready. Yes, restless, right? They already wanted to go. So, in which direction did they want to go? Get ready. Yes, north. Was Henry's flock one of the first flocks to take off? Get ready. No, right? They weren't. So the geese that took off from the lakes around Crooked Lake formed how many great V's? Get ready? Yes, four. So if you look at the picture, it shows how many geese are in the sky when the geese start moving north. You can see this picture. Imagine. So many geese. So let's continue reading. Oh, let me put it. There you go. Henry's flock followed the warm weather as it moved north. The flock would stay at a landing place long enough to make sure that the next landing place would not be frozen. So, how long did the flock stay at each landing place? Get ready. Yeah, long enough to be sure that the next one wouldn't be frozen, right? Let's continue reading. Finally, in the middle of April, the flock arrived at Big Trout Lake. There was honking and flapping as the geese met other flocks that stayed at Big Trout Lake during the summer. 2 days after the flock landed at Big Trout Lake, Tim and Henry said goodbye. It was time for Tim and the other geese that were almost a year old to form their own flock and fly off to Sandy Lake. The young geese would spend the summer at that lake. Oh, so listen to that part again, boys and girls. 2 days after the flock landed at Big Trout Lake, Tim and Henry said goodbye. It was time for Tim and the other geese that were almost a year old to form their own flock and fly off to Sandy Lake. The young geese would spend the summer at that lake. So, Tim was going to be part of a new flock. What was unusual about all the geese in that flock? Get ready? Well, the unusual part was that they were all a year old. Imagine that. They're still babies. So that's why Henry's children and grandchildren were not in his flock. They were in their own flocks and they first went into those flocks just before they were 1 year old. Okay, I'm going to continue reading. Before Tim left, he gave Henry a big old goose kiss and said, "Thank you for everything you've done, and I hope that I'll see you next winter at Crooked Lake." Henry said, "I'll be there." Oh, it was a very nice story, you guys. So that was Henry and Tim's trip. We just read their last story for them. Make sure that now on page 57, which is right here, you answer the questions like you do. Numbers your paper from 1 through 11. And then that you also answer your questions for section 12 in your workbook. Bye, you guys. Don't forget to write in your heading, name, date, and goal. Bye.